We've got breaking news. It's linked to that brazen, basically hack that was global by Chinese spies that stole the most valuable economic secrets from the United States and from a dozen other countries. How did it get so big in scope? How did it last for 12 years? How did it hit 20 industries here in the United States? How did China do it? Reuters now breaking the news that China hacked into companies like IBM and Hewlett-Packard Enterprises. Those are technology services companies rather. And then what did China do? They then hacked into IBM and HPE's clients. And that's how this got so big in scope. For his reaction, let's bring in retired Major General Robert Scales. That's how China did it. Wow, that's a bombshell, General.
Yeah, you know, Liz, I'm glad this is finally coming out because, you know, the only thing we've talked about over the last 2 years about hacking has to do with the Russians interfering with our election. Let me just tell you something. Compared to the Chinese, the Russians are crass amateurs. They're incompetent. The Chinese have this hacking institution that is so huge, and what makes it effective are a couple of things. Number one, it's much larger than the Russians. Number two, it's tied to the PLA. Even though a lot of the hacking is based on, you know, commercial information, the people who are running this are the military. And here's the scary part, Liz. It is that the hacking is occurring in this country as well as in China, because a great many Chinese immigrants who are working in many of our industries are scooping up this information and sending it home.
To your point, General, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's happening in real time. And, you know, let's show the scroll of the number of industries. It covers a gamut from military to tech to banking. Look at this, aviation technology. The fear is, General, is that China builds a lot of technology products and maybe putting tiny chips in these products to infiltrate as back doors. I mean, we've had other big media, including Bloomberg. We're seeing other tech blogs talking about this, that this is going on now, General.
Yeah, a couple of points. Just think for a moment if the Chinese have managed to put a bug into a chip in one of our missiles, or one of our anti-ballistic missiles, or perhaps in a radar on a ship offshore in the South China Sea. And let me tell you another thing that those of us in the military have seen. We're already beginning to see the manifestation of this hacking in the weapons that they're deploying as we speak, to include their cruise missiles, their drones. Also, if you look at their latest family of stealth aircraft, the J-20, it has a lot of the obvious characteristics with our F-22 and our F-35. They're so far advanced in their sophisticated hacking that they're already beginning to build military products and weapons to compete against us using our technology.
That's an important point you just made. Let's recap the breaking news coming out of Reuters. That the Chinese spies, the Chinese hacking, the way they did it was to get into technology companies like IBM or Hewlett-Packard Enterprises, and then hack their clients. We have the new, the information too that China planted a lot of backdoors into data centers of some of the world's biggest companies like Amazon and Apple. So the fear is, sir, that you bring up the military technology. We have the corporate side of this. I'm not sure. This is all on China's march to be the world's biggest economic and technological superpower, the Made in 2025 march, is it not?
Exactly. Well, just think about this. The Chinese leadership has said that the Chinese military and the corporate or the technological slice of its corporate structure are to be at parity with the United States by 2030. There is no way, by following a due course process, will the Chinese ever be able to achieve that without extensive, pervasive hacking of our technology, our civilian technology and our military technology. But let me make one more point to you, because so much of the military today is dependent on corporate technology, particularly with microcircuitry, that you can no longer distinguish between the two. An IBM a piece of IBM technology is that same technology is being put into military computers, into our radar systems, and into our early warning systems. So the day of having a hacking program against IBM or a hacking program against the U.S. Air Force, today they are essentially the same.
How would you, all right, if you were advising President Trump, and you're advising Robert Lighthizer and Wilbur Ross and his trade deal team.
Right.
What would you tell the administration when it comes to the trade deal with China?
Two things. First of all, I would say fight back. We're just as good at this as the Chinese are. We can hack. We're pretty darn good at it. I mean, how many young men and women do we have in Silicon Valley who could do this on a weekend, for Pete's sake? Hack back at the Chinese and do it in a very public manner so that it becomes sort of like a cyber war where either side can win. And the second thing
would that
is,
escalate it and make it worse, or would it stop it?
No. How can it get any worse, Liz? I mean, the Chinese are going full throttle as we speak. The only thing they'd be afraid of is for us to start stealing their technology instead of vice versa. And the second thing I'd do is I'd take a long, hard look at Chinese students in our universities and those who are hired from China to work in our corporate structure. When I was in the Army, and I remember I visited China in 2000. I remember a Chinese general bragging to me that there were more PLA officers in American graduate schools than there were American officers in American graduate schools. And I don't think it's gotten any better over the past few years.
And China does have that law that says, everybody works for the security of the Chinese Communist state. I mean, that's
right.
Their own security law, no matter where you are in the world, right?
And the other thing is, of course, for the Chinese students and employees in this country, what the Chinese government does very skillfully is they hold their relatives, their wives, their children, their parents, and their grandparents at risk if they don't toe the line and comply with instructions from China.
General Robert Scales, wow, what a story. Again, we just figured out why that Chinese hack just got so big, because they were hacking into IBM and HPE and hacking into those companies' clients. It's a big, big story. IBM and HPE, not talking about it right now. We're going to stay on that. That's a story from Reuters. General, thank you so much.